to the Man Art Gallery's virtual programming this week. My name is Tia Furstenberg. I'm the registrar here, and I'm also your host for the Secrets of the Vault series, where I discuss one or two artists a week and share some of their artwork that we have in our permanent collection. I'm so excited to bring you the fourth video already. If you haven't watched the other three, they are on the Man Art Gallery's Facebook page and YouTube channel, so I recommend you go do that. There's also some really cool other virtual programming videos that you might enjoy. As you can see, we are back in the vault today. It's a bit chilly outside, so I've decided to stick to indoors, and this is a hint of what I will be discussing today. It was in 2015 that the Hone and Hall families donated over 2,000 artworks to our permanent collection, and of those, 597 of them belong to Elizabeth Hone, or Beth Hone. So I have the privilege today to share 3 of her artworks. This is one of them. We'll get up close in a second, don't worry. Most of her artworks that we have in our collection are ceramic and sculptural forms, and we also have some of her beautiful contour drawings, which I will share with you today as well. So without further ado, let's get started. So this is the first piece I'm going to talk about. It's a clay pendant in the shape of the Woman of Willendorf. So the Woman of Willendorf was a Paleolithic figure, and most of Beth's figures that she sculpted were from this period. So she didn't just sculpt one of them, she sculpted numerous. So this is not the only Woman of Willendorf pendant that we have. And as you can see, the female anatomy is largely exaggerated, specifically the hips, the breasts, the thighs, and the abdomen. And these figures, or Venuses as they were called, arguably were used for religious purposes. They were symbols of fertility and health and birth, or some researchers argue that they're purely a fascination of the female form. So Beth actually had her own interpretation of the Venuses she encountered in her travels and that she eventually sculpted. So I have a quote by her here that is from a essay that she wrote in 1986, and she says, "I had an interesting experience with the Venus. I decided to reproduce her in clay, and I had always considered her to be an ugly little thing. As I worked on her voluptuous rounded body, I began to appreciate the artistic quality of the shapes. As well as becoming beautiful, she also seemed to have a sense of dignity and strength. I could picture her on a ledge in a cave, with the cave people consulting her about their Paleolithic problems." So this is the second piece I'm going to talk about. It doesn't have a title, but it's one of numerous box-like sculptures that Beth has made. This one is porcelain. It has this beautiful creamy glaze with specks of blue in the surface, and also these rounded stamp shapes as well. I'll show you a little trick. So this is just the top covering. If you take it off, there is a little box underneath. So this one, as you can see, is unglazed around the exterior, and then on the interior there is a glaze that is the same as the box cover. So that's kind of neat, and Beth has lots of these. I've just picked one to sort of show you. So Beth was one of the earliest ceramist instructors in Saskatchewan, and so she hugely contributed to the development of ceramics in the province. She studied from 1958 to 59 at the Farnham School of Art, which is now the West Surrey College of Art and Design in England. And there she was also taught by Bernard Leach, who was a British potter known for influencing contemporary ceramic design. Beth shared her training when she returned home, teaching at the University of Regina Extension Department from 1958 to 1966. She also formed the Hone James Studio in Regina with Anne James in 1968, and it's there that they taught classes and orchestrated workshops by really some of the most notable instructors, including John Reeves, Jack Herman, Don Wright, Harry Davis, and Jim Melkert. The breadth and the quality of works produced by Beth are evidence of her extensive research and exploration while being an instructor. She really uses different elements in her sculptural pieces, from throwing to slip casting to hand building. She really combines a lot of different techniques. And her pieces are largely investigative. So, for example, like this one, she uses porcelain to create really delicate folded, vessels, which is a material that's usually used for domestic ceramics, like a set of teacups or a teapot. So one thing I really love about these pieces in particularly is that she uses these straw materials to create such soft forms, and they really do address and encapsulate the feminine, just like her Woman of Willendorf pendants. It's just a different approach to the same subject matter. And last but not least, we have this beautiful drawing by Beth. It's unfortunately untitled, but I can tell you that it is India ink on newsprint and dated for August 8th, 1969, which is quite rare for one of Beth's works to have a date, so it's kind of nice. This is one of quite a few pieces that are done in India ink. Beth also has some landscapes and sketches done in charcoal and graphite, but I really feel that these India ink pieces are some of her strongest works. I'm just really in love with the playfulness of her subject matter and the ambiguity of it too. These organic forms, sort of left to the viewer's interpretation and imagination. Her other pieces also touch on kind of nature, so leaves, sketches of leaves and plants and flowers. So she's really looking to, Mother Earth, if you will, the goddess, and explores that also in her drawings. So you can definitely see a relationship with that, and then her more sculptural folded pieces and studies with the goddess. So that's really interesting. And because these are done on newsprint, there's no sense of preciousness. Newsprint is, typically a paper that artists use to sketch ideas, and sometimes, I know for me at least, they can end up in the trash, right? So you really don't have that much of a connection with newsprint drawings. But sometimes that is what makes them so beautiful, is there's no overthinking. You're just sketching, and usually, you'll come up with a piece like this that is, unexpected and yet so beautiful and worthy of being treasured. And that's all I have for you today. Thank you so much for joining me as I shared a bit about Beth Hone. Please let me know what your favorite piece was that I talked about in the comments below, or if you have a question, you can leave it down below too. And I will see you guys next week.